Alrighty, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Bojan Petreski. Today is November 16th, 2021. This is the Futures Now, excuse me, Futures Now live session, and we'll be getting started in just a few seconds. The disclaimer is running there for your use and your protection. Please make sure to read it and understand it. And we'll be getting started in just a few seconds here. Just want to make sure everything's set up here on my end, just in case there's any questions, any comments. I don't want to miss anything. So let's see here. All right, looks like we're all good to go. All right, there we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to look at the current market environment. We're going to analyze it and then, of course, execute based upon it. We're going to try to put our feelings and thoughts of what's happening in the markets in our drawers, in our desks, or in our pockets, and we're going to execute regardless of what the thoughts are. But we're going to execute basely and solely on the opportunities that are given on the market using our analysis. All right, and then of course we're going to manage those trades. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and. For some reason, I'm not seeing my LinkedIn pop up for some reason. Not quite sure why, but I'll figure that out as we go along. I don't want to take up too much of your time of me fixing tech problems, right? All right, so let's go ahead and look at the short-term time frame climates. Excuse me. For some reason, it's still not showing up. There it is. Okay, perfect. Ooh, TradeStation is offline. Okay, I think this may have to do with the fact that I launched Top earlier without updating it. So let's go ahead and get TradeStation restarted real quick. Just make sure the okay. All right, that should be good then. We should be back in business here. Yeah, we are. All right, good stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, if you're not utilizing TradeStation, you won't have the convenience of seeing this screen for yourself. However, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to trade the same way that we're going to trade. As a matter of fact, you may actually catch some opportunities that we may not catch because just because we rely on the convenience of the radar screen from TradeStation. But sometimes, by the time you open something, by the time you actually see that it changed, you may have already missed the opportunity. Whereas if you had it open with, let's say, TradeStation, you would actually be seeing the opportunity happen in front of you. All right, so a couple of things that we need to look at first. We are looking for a confirmed climate. So we want to have some sort of a color here, either red or blue. Gray we're going to skip on because that means the climate is not confirmed, such as these here, as you see. Right? And down here as well. And preferably the condition of that market climate would be sensible or near sensible, like it is right here for NQ and RTY. So since those are the only ones that are flashing near sensible or sensible, we're going to go ahead and open them up. Let's make sure we're all good here. We are all good. So we're going to look at the 60-minute NQ and the 60-minute RTY. I'm going to open them up. There we go. And of course, if you have any questions, any comments, anything of that nature, please feel free to type it in the chat. If I don't see it, I'll try to reply to you as soon as I do. But if I don't see it, please bear with me because, broadcasting and trading at the same time sometimes can be conflicting. You need to have your laser sharp focus in order to make sure that you're not making mistakes. And okay. All right, there we are. We do have a UFO there. Now let's see, what are we looking at here on the NQ? So on the NQ, we're at that 60,179 right now for the moving average. Of course, we don't have any UFOs there. Right, this is that area. So no UFOs there in that area to utilize as of right now for a potential trade to the downside on the NQ. Now, let me just explain what I mean by this. So the way we trade these instruments, the way we trade all of the setups that we're going to be seeing for the next hour is the following, right? The first thing that we need to see is to make sure that we have a confirmed climate, which in this scenario we do. How do we know that? Well, we look at it right here. It's a thick dot down in this lower area. See, it's a thick dot, not a thin one, right? A thin dot means it's unconfirmed, so we're going to go ahead and skip on that. We're not going to be utilizing these thin dots because that means that the climate is unconfirmed. Probabilities are not in our favor. Then we're going to look at the auto climate and say, okay, this is a confirmed down climate. We need to be entering and looking to enter a short somewhere, right? So where is that somewhere? Well, the way we answer that somewhere is by utilizing our auto UFOs, right? The proprietary and patented technologies that we utilize ourselves. Okay, so we look at these auto UFOs and we say, okay, so there's potential sellers here and here, right? I'm sorry, potential sellers up here and potential buyers down here. So now, which one of these UFOs matters to us the most? Well, the one that matters to us the most is the one that is our allied UFO, our UFO that is in the same direction as the UFO, as the confirmed climate down below. So we want to have a confirmed down climate with the red UFO. Now, entering, where do we enter that? Well, you can enter the same way I do, which is you look at this 9 EMA. You look for that 9 EMA to be enveloped in the UFO and the climate to still be confirmed. And then you can go ahead and get into the trade. In this scenario, though, we do not have that. So let's go ahead and switch to RTY and see if we have anything on RTY. Ooh, wow. It's like a same exact picture as the Nasdaq. A lot of movement up and down, but not a whole lot happening as far as directionality is concerned. And as you see, it's also kind of hugging that 2397 area, which is right in between here. So nothing to do on both of these. Let's see if we can find something else. Wow, look at that. 2 and 2.5 ATRs. The spread is just huge right there on crude oil and on the euro contract. So let's see if there's something that's kind of closer. So the NQs we have, RTY we have open, right? These are the two that are closest. Okay. Nothing quite yet. I guess the 30-year note we can look at. That's somewhat closer. So let's go ahead and look at it. If not, we're just going to have to wait for the climates to update in about 2 minutes from now. So let's go ahead and do that while I double check if there's any questions or any comments. All right, looking pretty good, it looks like. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. So, about a minute to go here for an update to the climate. Let's just make sure we're ready for it. And we'll be getting started in just a sec. All right. Oh, look at that. That's a beauty. All right. So we do have a trade on both RTY and probably also on the NQ. 176. Wow, that is not going to work. What about for the Russell? 2396. That's within there. Okay, so we can definitely take this trade. 2394 is the entry. All right, now this one also, the stop's going to be a little excessive. Therefore, if you are taking this with me, I would definitely recommend taking this with the micros. Let me just set up the trade here. 2398.5 minus 2394. We're looking at 4.5 points. That's 2398.5 for T1. 98.5. All right, and now for our final target, I'm going to maximize this chart here and see where my first opposing UFO is, and it's all the way down here at 2339.60. 2039.60. All right, replace that order. Wowza, right? Looking like an amazing trade. Whether or not that will be reached, who knows? But ultimately, I would like to be in this trade as it's falling down. It would be really, really awesome to catch it as it's going down. So here's the Nasdaq. Actually, the Nasdaq is also looking pretty much the same. So 16,162 would be the entry, and this gets enveloped all the way up to. All right, so what we're gonna do is, well, 16,162 is the entry. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put both of them up because one of them could fill, the other one might not. We're gonna set it up. Again, I would also recommend taking this one with the micros, just because it's a substantial risk. 16,191.5 minus 16,162. We're looking at close to 30 points. 16,132. Let's enable chart trading here to make this a little easier. All right, 16,132.5. 16,132.5. Replace that one. And now for our final, or again, same thing. We're going to maximize this. Enable AutoUFOs. Okay, so this one's a little closer actually. Let's make sure that this is going to work. It should. 16,089.5. 16,089.5. 16,089.5. All right, so here's a plan, right? We're going to wait and see which one of these triggers. right? That's the goal. We want to be on one of them. There's really no reason to be on both of them. If you want to, you can most definitely do that. But given that these are so related and moving in most of the time same direction, I would prefer to be exposed to their movement on one side, not on both sides. So if NQ triggers, I cancel RTY. If RTY triggers, I cancel the NQ. All right, so just so we have that straight, we do have both trades on, but whichever one triggers first, that's the one that we're going to stick with. We're going to cancel the other one. And I would say, even if let's say somehow we have a jolt up and we get filled on both at the same time, just cancel one of them. I myself would probably be canceling the RTY, just because, the Nasdaq can have excessive moves, especially when it's trending in a direction. It's going to be making, quite the fast movement. So I want to be a part of that, especially if you're going the right way. This gold bar is going to get filled pretty nicely. All right. Even though looking like the Russell is going to fill first. Okay, so we have our first trade set up here. Just going to take a quick screenshot of this. All right, let's save that. So there's 11/16. We got RTY set up on the 50-minute. There we go. We got filled on the Russell, so canceling the Nasdaq. So Russell is filled. We have 10 minutes to the open. Ideally speaking, I would like to see this fill my T1 before the market opens. That's always the ideally speaking situation. If it happens, it happens. If not, it is what it is. And actually, I just realized I mislabeled. This is the 60-minute setup, not the 15-minute. So let's go ahead and change that. 60-minute setup. It's always easier just to take a quick snapshot and say, hey, this is what I was looking at, right? This is how it looked like when I was entering the trade, when I was executing the trade. I have two UFOs here. I have quite the large space in between my T1 and my T2. So this is a trade that I should be taking. There's no, there's no guarantee it will work, but you need to show to yourself like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of taking. This is what I think might happen, and here's my analysis. Right? You need to be able to look back and say, this is exactly what I was expecting. This is exactly what I wanted to do. All right. Now, if for some crazy reason we have a nice shot down on RTY and we get T1, we actually will then have permission to take this Nasdaq trade if it's still valid. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that it's all good. The Russell is actually flashing near sensible short even on the 15-minute time frame, which is nice to see. Other than that, though, not a whole lot else nearby. So we do have our first trade on, though, and we're looking good so far, right? The rule, which is our time stop rule, is also part of our trade management. So let me show you what I mean by that. So as you see, right, this is the candle that we got filled on, right? This vertical line. I'm gonna put a vertical there. We typically want to give it 1, 2, 3 candles for this to work. So almost until 10 o'clock here Eastern. If the trade does not stop us out or does not hit our T1, we're going to go ahead and close at a market wherever it may be. So as soon as this new candle that's here prints, we have permission to close it, whether it's up here or down here, or even right at our entry. So we have permission to close it. Okay, just so we're all clear. All right. Let me see here. I just realized I minimized all my windows back here. So okay, so we're looking good. Excuse me. Have a bit of a chuckle in my throat. My son is most likely the culprit of that. He's also not feeling too well. Um, let's see what's going to happen here. I just realized I don't have this open here. There we are. There we go. Okay, we're all good. Okay, are there any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything of that nature? Please feel free to type it in the chat, or if not, what I'm gonna use this time for, actually, I don't know if I can, hold on a second. Definitely some reaction off of this UFO right here is what we're seeing. Obviously, it did go a little bit deeper, which is fine, as long as it doesn't just shoot through. We'll be good to go. Okay. I know there's always a little bit of a delay. I kind of always forget that. I'm like expecting real-time feedback all around the world, which is not the case. Obviously, we're casting to like 6 different channels at the same time. Different channels have different lag behind them, so we are all humans after all. Our span of attention is only so good for so long. Okay. We got 4 minutes to the open, and I'm seeing that the ES is flashing. It's flashing, but it's unconfirmed, so that's a flash that won't concern us too much. What I don't like about this trade, if I can just be honest with you, is the fact that our T1 is below the Globex low. That doesn't mean that the market can't just drop like a tank all the way to our T1. I'm not saying that can't happen. It's just I'm saying I don't like it because usually, especially traders that are, trading the ranges of the days, are looking at that Globex low and Globex high and typically like to either start adding or basically putting on contracts at the Globex low, a little bit below, finding areas where they have interest in. So that's the only reason why I'm really I'm not in love with this trade, but it's again, it met the criteria. We got into it, and that's that. There's no, I can express feelings and opinions, but as you see, I'm executing based on my plan, which is how everybody really should be trading. You can have your biases and opinions and thoughts, but it's what matters is your execution. I'm sorry. There we go. All right, so 3 minutes to the open. Looks like we're pushing downwards before the open. Let's hope that momentum continues. At the very minimum, what I would like to see is just a jolt down to get our T1 filled, right? So it opens and then it snaps like that and maybe pulls back again. On that snap or on the way down on any one of these more sensitive time frames, we get a UFO so I can move the stop. That's what I would like to see. That's what I would like to materialize in front of me. And more often than not, that's what happens. Sometimes, though, as if by luck or chance, it comes a few ticks in front of your T1 and then just go all the way to the stop. So I like the action of the open. I like it when we have a lot of movement up and down, up and down. And I'm kind of on edge because I'm waiting for a UFO to form so I can get in on it, so I can get in on the action, right? So here we go. We actually already have a new UFO that has formed. Um, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you can actually move your stop down below here. Since this formed, and we're a few minutes before the open, actually about a minute before the open. But there's a very good chance that this is going to wake you out, just because that's just how the markets move. Um, I'm gonna leave it alone where it is. It's nice that we have a UFO, and I'm gonna remember this 23.95.30 is where I would move my stop to, just in case. Um, we get a nice jolt down. 23.95.30. So that's going to minimize my risk a lot. Okay, see that's why I didn't do that. Do you see that? See that wick? Right? Almost immediate. Almost immediate. So that's the whole reason why, sometimes you want to be careful. There we go. Another one has formed though, 95.7, so 95.8 would be where we move our stop. We just need to come on, Russell, nice big push down to that T1 is what we want to see. And then we're going to go ahead and move our stop immediately. Come on. That's it. Point to go. Come on, Mr. Russell. We know you want to touch that T1. I'm already going to move this here just so I don't risk as much. I'm pretty sure this is going to get to our T1. I don't see why it wouldn't. There's a tick away. A tick away. All right, come on, Russell. You can do this. 23.91.10. Man, I mean, this is going to be a profitable trade anyway. So we just want to see that T1 get locked in. We already moved our stop down below. This is definitely a profitable trade. There's that T1. Our stop is in its place, also profitable. So, we locked in 225 plus 45. We're looking at about 260, 270 bucks on that trade. Not so bad. Now we just want to stay in the trade and not get wicked out. As you see, that was around that Globex. We did have a nice little pullback there. So that's why, being overly aggressive with your trail stop is not always the best thing. Now, I highly doubt this will happen with the Russell, but here we go. 91.4. Move that down. Okay. Another UFO has formed up there, which is good. Working in our favor. Definitely some buyers there. You saw that price action. It was just immediate touch and go. Testing out that 23.88 area pretty rapidly, pretty substantially. Okay. Looking pretty good so far on this trade. Now, if you have like a daily goal in mind, let's say you want to say, you know what, as soon as I make 700 bucks, I'm out. You could just say, you know what, I'm good. I'll take my 700 and I'll let it go. I'm okay with, giving up 200 bucks here to get stopped out for a positive 130. Because I just want to be able to ride this as much as I can, as long as I can, especially if I get a new UFO right here to permit me to move it again. Come on, Russell. No new UFO, really. Okay. There we go. 23.89.1. That's where it is. Okay. Looking pretty good. Now we just want to wait this out, let it play out. There's going to be a pullback and maybe a continuation to the move downwards, but I am trading according to my rules. I'm not going to even consider breaking a rule, right? But, ultimately you might say to yourself, wow, your T2 was all the way down there. How come you're not letting it run all the way down there? Well, I mean, we're starting this off on a 60-minute time frame. You could just say, okay, you know what? I got my T1 and I'm going to put my stop up there where it was and just let this run all the way down to T2. Uh, you could certainly do that. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You can certainly do that. What I would recommend, though, that you do, which is this is the boring stuff, please back test it. And if you find that, you're hitting, 20, 30, 40% of the time you're getting those T2s, then maybe that's what you should do. The reason why I'm saying, okay, another UFO right at that same location where our stop was, so we're looking good where it is. To leave it on. If not, we're gonna go ahead and just basically just leave it the way it is. We're not touching anything. Um, what I wanted to say is I lost my train of thought. Um, if you're finding that you are hitting your T2s, right, more often than not, maybe you just let this run for a couple of weeks and it ends up hitting that T2, right? Well, that's just you passively made that money. You weren't actively trading. You were passively trading. So if you see that you are hitting those T2s, by all means, back test it and figure it out and say, okay, yeah, this is hitting those T2s. I'm going to change my plan and do this, right? Don't just change it on the fly just because you see that you missed out a couple of trades off of the T2. Okay? Change it after you've back tested it and said, okay, you know what? I see that I'm missing out, 60% of the time on a T2. And those T2s are those really, juicy, yummy profits, right? Those are the ones that make the day, make the week, make the month even. And if you're finding that, then absolutely, by all means, go ahead and adjust it and let it come to you the way you see it, right? And then just reanalyze, reapply, analyze, reapply, and that's all there is to it. But I would definitely say do it after back testing, not just because you saw money vanish in front of your eyes, right? Like right now, you saw we were positive 445. So a good chance I'll get stopped out at 245. I gave up $200. I'm okay with that, right? I'm quite okay with that. Now, if this trade ended up going, I'm just going to take the screenshot of the exit, RTY exit, 60 minutes. Now, just in case you say to yourself, you know what, that I don't want to give up that much money. So then another methodology, another way you could address that and say, you know what, as soon as I reach $500, $1,000, depending on how many contracts you're trading on, $10,000 per trade. Look at that reversal. Holy cow. Right? No wonder the RTY is also doing the same thing. And this kind of goes to show when it comes to the differences in some of these instruments. More often than not, they do move the same way. But look at this massive rally on the NQ. We're talking close to 100 points. Actually, more than 100 points. Holy cow, more than 100 points right now. Versus the Russell tanked down, got our T1, got our stop, our trail stop hit as well. We took money in the bank. Versus if we took that NQ trade, we probably would have lost money actually. So it might have made T1. I don't believe so though. I think T1 was somewhere down there. I don't think did I take a screenshot? I did not take a screenshot because the trade didn't trigger. So yeah, look at that. 2.5 negative ATRs. The ES doing the same thing. 2.5 negative ATRs. Negative ATRs just means it's going against what the climate was. And right now, as you see, near sensible short, it's actually an unconfirmed climate. Both the ES and the NQ printing green, whereas the Russell is still negative, 0.5%. Right? So the Russell is definitely heavier today than the NQ or the ES. All right. All right, so the 10 year is actually flashing, and so is the 30 year. Let's open those up. So the 10 year and the 30 year. 60, and then where's TOI? TOI, right next to it. Let's open those up, see how things are working. Woo-hoo. Excuse me. All right, I just want to double check that that's the contract. The way you do that, you just go to barchart.com, futures most active, and we'll see that it's still on the December contract. So we're good. December. Now, what do we got here? Confirmed climate, second out of typically 6, so definitely not late to this party. 160.415, that's like right here. Yeah, unfortunately, we got nothing there. As you see, the moving average is pretty much in line. It's actually in line with 1332. So, yeah, nothing, no UFO here, unless there was one and we missed it. That's also a possibility because it was flashing earlier. I just want to double check something. The way you can see that is height hit UFOs. We set that to false just to see if there was maybe a UFO. Not there. So there wasn't one on that one. Okay, now the 10 year looking very similar to the 30 year. 10.5 is, oh, actually that lines up with this UFO. So 10.5 entry point. Okay, our stop. So our stop is really right, can be right here, but that is just so, that is, we're talking 3 ticks. You can certainly take this. There's a little less probability. So, but if it does work out, obviously it's just quick 1-2 money. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna double up on this, and I'm gonna go 130.14.5, and we're gonna go 6.5. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a bit of a double-legged advanced move here. What I'm basically doing, I'm taking the same UFO here, but I'm expanding my stop to the upper one for the other 2 contracts. So for the first 2, I'm going to take this right here, right? I'm going to take my my T1 off 1 here, another 1 here, and then I'm going to ride it down, or at least attempt to. There's nothing below. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and cancel these 2 here. And there should be chart training here. Let's go ahead and cancel these. Cancel that. All right. So again, this is a little bit more advanced, but if you're not comfortable with doing this, you can just do 2 contracts with the stop here. If you feel more comfortable doing what I'm doing, then you can hit your entry here, 2 stops here, 2 stops there. Mainly because what I would like to see happen, would be something like this, and maybe that, and then that. All right, so I'll take my T1 here, lose out on it here for a break even, which is fine, but stay in the trade with the other 2 and take another one off here. Okay, ideally speaking, what I would like to see would be this. Ideally speaking, would be this: T1, retest, T2, retest, further down. Most likely here, we're going to see a bit of a pullback. Maybe we get a new UFO somewhere here, right? I would like to see that, right? So basically at that point, I will be taking both this stop and putting it here, as well as the one that's here and putting it right there. So kind of a bit of an advanced setup there. If you have any questions about it, let me know. But so far, we're looking pretty good. All right. RTY. Oh, it actually tested that low area again where we were. So there's some real weakness on RTY. The Nasdaq's come down from where it was around this 16,250 area. But we're going to have an update in the climates in the next 15 seconds. So let's keep an eye out on the climates. There's a good chance that both ES and Q are going to turn into sensible long opportunities. So a few more seconds here and we'll be getting going. There we go. Sensible longs, both of them, as I called it. All three, actually, the three majors. Sensible short still on the euro. So let me open up the euro on the 15. And then also I'm going to open up the ES on the 15. Okay, so the euro confirmed down climate in a UFO right now. Let's see here what's happening. Okay, 13,585. Okay, 13,5. So this would be the entry UFO right here. 13,581. Okay, stop would have to be a 610. Is 610 in here? No. Okay, so we can definitely take this. 13,580 would be the entry point. Our stop will be 605, 615. Okay, like that. And then our our T2 would be here at 13,455. 13,455. So that would be that setup there. And also this is very low risk as well. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, we're good. So I'm actually gonna double up on this as well. I'm gonna keep the same stops though. And there we go. Okay. Now let's take a look at the ES. All right. I mean, it's almost 2 ATRs away. If we get some sort of a pullback on the ES, it's most likely going to be at or after 10, between 10 and 10:30. I highly doubt we'll get an opportunity to get on this. Could it happen? Absolutely. Is it likely? No. As you see, it has absolutely no intention of coming down, even though it's at completely all-time highs. 4,700. As you see, it actually pushed up against the Globex here. I believe the highest it got to was 40. As you see, it didn't quite get to 4,700 over the past few days, but it did touch it here, if I'm not mistaken. 4,705 was the high. So that's the highest all-time high right now. 4,705. pretty ballistic move up today, if we're being quite honest. Couple of wait, what am I doing? 6 minute. I wanted to see 60 minute. That's why I'm like, why did I have to go back so far? Yeah, so the all-time high there, as we see. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I was wrong. That's why it's always good to see the higher picture here. 47.1175 is the all-time high. All right, so that was the all-time high. So we're fairly close to that when you think about it. You know, you can analyze this in many different ways. You could draw all kinds of trend lines and stuff like that. But as you see, it broke that downtrend line here. Now it's pushing on up. The lows are holding here, right? So these lows held, didn't get tested down below. Now it's a matter of, will this challenge this high here? Is it go? What the hell? That's because I don't really draw with these guys here. All right. All right. So now it's a matter of, will it challenge this high here? That's really the main question. Excuse me again. So, not a whole lot to do here other than wait and see what happens. No UFOs, interesting enough, on any of these. Maybe there was one and it got filled. Let's take a look. Yeah, there was one right there, right at the all-time highs. You actually were giving an opportunity right here on that retest to ride it all the way down, um, which is fun to see. And your target would have been actually right here, and as you came pretty close, not quite to it. So there's a good chance you might have maybe gotten stopped out here or something. But um, yeah, it's a pretty cool and intense fight right now to challenge that high, that previous high. Meanwhile, none of our setups have filled. Matter of fact, the euro just, it did what we expected it to do, only a little bit further down. The 30-year, we said we didn't have any opportunities, but look at that, an opportunity has presented itself right there, 160.32s, 13.32. So literally right here. Okay, and of course, this moves at $32, so you definitely want it to be. I would say I'm gonna leave it right where I put it there. There we go. It got filled. T1 down here, as you see, risking 250 for just 4 ticks, and then our final target for this would be down here, 159, 29, 32s. So 159, 159. 29.3, right below the Globex low for today. All right, the 10-year did not fill, didn't come close. Euro, same thing. We're in the 30-year. This sometimes can move really nicely and slowly towards your way, or really nicely and slowly against you. But it does move slow. All right, so unconfirmed climate now on the NQ. Okay. The ES, it's touched that top there, as you see, but has not fallen from it like the NQ has. So, anyways, let's go back to the this is a 2-minute bar, 2-minute chart rather. All right, so there we go. One more tick, which can take ages for the 30-year, but look at that. A new UFO has formed right there at 165. So I'm actually going to move it down to the top of it here, just because, I want to trail it already. If I can eliminate risking, an additional, $70 or something like that, why not? Now, you know, you might not, obviously this is sim. You might not get filled immediately when this ticks to the T1. Matter of fact, sometimes you're gonna see it sitting right there on your T1 and not filling, you're not filling, you're not filling. You're like, what the hell's going on, man? Come on. That's just because it's first in, first out. And as of right now, if you actually consider this stuff, there's 490 people trying to buy here, 300 trying to sell here. Even though these numbers can be spoofed easily. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch some of Pedro's sessions, and you're gonna figure it out. Um, but again, it's first in, first out. All right, I'm canceling this. This is nowhere near to a fill. The 10-year already did its move almost to my T2, canceling that too. The 30-year, of course, pretty much the equivalent of paint drying. All right, the Russell uh, pushing on higher. Probably won't get a chance on it for the remainder of these few minutes. And there we go. There's our T1. Now we can move this again to, I think, that was our entry. So we can move it right here to 31.25 risk. So this is definitely another profitable trade as well. And then we could just leave this running. Did I take a screenshot of this? I did not. Let's take a screenshot of this. 2021 11/16. This is the US setup, and it's obviously on the 60-minute. Okay, not a bad Tuesday, right? 587 with 125 trailing. Even if it stops you out, you're still looking at 500 plus. Not bad for an hour's worth of work, right? Nothing here. This is, that's not. I'm like, holy cow, that's extended. Yeah, so that's for the 10-year. Not going to happen anytime soon. And Q, unconfirmed. We can close it. ES, still confirmed up. 46.82. Wow, this actually will work here if it were to shoot down. So let's go ahead and set that up too. Okay. The top of this UFO is 75. 75 right there. Below it is 74.75. Now, is that? Yep, it's within that one. 73.25. Okay, that's in the clear. So again, a little bit of excessive risk here. 80.75 minus 73.25. We're looking at 7.5 points. Obviously, times 50 times 2, we're looking at $750. If you're not okay with taking that trade, definitely consider taking it with a micro. And then that's that, really. So obviously adjust these accordingly. I'm going to cancel it, obviously, because I won't be managing it right now. Euro trade didn't do anything. Closing that, saving that. This one, I'll leave it. I'll leave it alone. I don't want to touch this one too much. Obviously, if it's making a few bucks, just leave it. That'll do its thing. Worst they can do is take out 31 bucks. Best they could do, make you 500, make this a 4-digit day, right? All right, folks, we're at the end of the line here. Hope you enjoyed this session. And then I will catch you tomorrow. Thank you. Take care.